Beautiful. Thank you. That was so sweet.
Oh, thank you
Really
very much.
a great way to get our live dispatch from home started today. Uh,
Woo!
with the quarantine song. It's kind of the theme. Somewhere over the rainbow, we're all looking for that lovely moment over the rainbow when this is all behind us. But today, we're going to spend some time with two master ukulele players, Craig Chee and Sarah Maisel. And I am Patricia Butler, the CEO and co-founder of ArtistWorks. And we are an online music instruction company, and we work with 36 world-renowned musicians just like these two. And so you can find us at artistworks.com. And today we're just going to talk about all things ukulele and ukulele cruises and ukulele music and all kinds of fun things. So Sarah and Craig, thank you so very much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This
Our
is really
pleasure.
exciting.
Yeah, and so you're clearly at home, and home is San Diego for you, is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So do we have to talk quietly because the baby's sleeping?
He's in another room, so we should be okay. But you will see me glancing. You will see me glancing over because I do have him on a little monitor. So those of you who are looking for Cameron, he is taking a nap.
Yeah. And all new mothers understand exactly what you're going through. Well, anybody
Oh
that's
yeah,
a mother knows what you're going through. You walk around, shh, don't make any noise. At least you play an instrument that's not necessarily electrified. That's good.
this is true.
Yeah, if you played the drums, we'd be in trouble.
Yes,
Or
absolutely.
rock guitar or something like that.
Yes.
So that would be bad, wouldn't it, Craig? So
We kind of hope that he's a drummer. We need a drummer for the trio. So
you
This
need
is
a
true. We would appreciate it if he learned the drums. We'll get him
that
started early.
I was just going to say that could probably be arranged, no doubt. Now you're going to get a bunch of, drumsticks in the mail.
oh my gosh,
That is a-okay.
Yeah, that's good. I know you have a lot of very loyal fans. You guys have been doing a lot of things lately. I was going to ask you what's changed in your house with the quarantine, but we can certainly talk about that. In addition to having a brand new baby,
Woo!
you guys have been really, really busy. Bring us up to speed a little bit as to what you've been doing and things that have changed because of the quarantine, kind of with your music and with your careers too. What's been going on?
Start, hun. You start us off.
oh,
Oh, especially because
I
I've
hear
got to
it.
run.
oh yeah. Just see that
Okay.
thing. All right, so
Get that
I'll
baby a
deal this
drumstick.
question for now. So, it all started about 5 or 6 weeks ago. You know, Sarah and I are very fortunate in the sense where the last few years we were planning on taking some time off of the travel. We were traveling about 9 months out of the year
Oh,
for
wow.
different ukulele festivals and different tours. And we were we were saying if we're going to try to raise a family, we have to book some time off. So luckily, like you couldn't have planned it better. We got pregnant last year, early last year. So that really helps because we took a lot of last year off, and even the start of this year we planned to be home. So
Hmm.
luckily we didn't have as many cancellations of events compared to a lot of our friends and fellow artists. So about 6 weeks ago, we're again like everyone else on Facebook checking on everyone, and we read a really well written note from our friend Low Rev, who was explaining what a lot of working artists are going through at this time. And
Hmm.
it was just horrible to hear these horror stories of like their whole year of events that had to be canceled or moved. And so Sarah and I looked at each other and said, we have to do something. So we
Yeah.
decided to host a little mini festival, and it was only going to be Sarah and I and maybe a few other guests, and we ended up having about 25 artists jump in, including Jake. And we had this amazing, I think it was like 6.5 hour long, seven
Oh, it
hour
was
long
long.
festival.
Yeah, I don't know how you
Oh my
guys did it.
gosh.
I thought it was like 9 hours, but
Well, the
kudos
past
to you
one was
guys. It was.
the number two was 9 hours, which
Oh,
was a little long, but it was awesome. It really felt like we were at a festival. It felt like we were sharing the day with our friends and sharing music again. We didn't realize how much we needed this as well.
yeah.
It was amazing, absolutely amazing. But
That's
it was.
interesting. Interesting you say that too, Craig, because I was on yesterday with Howard
Mm,
Levy, and we were talking about how, what are you doing live online like you guys are doing? And he said, I just really needed this. I
yeah.
needed to play and know that somebody was listening other than my wonderful wife.
Yes.
Do you find that too? Did you find that as well? Was it a little bit of a relief to have the Ook Festival?
Well, it wasn't even having an audience. It was sharing stories and catching up with our friends for the first time in what felt like
Yeah.
ages. That was the most. I can't even explain it. It was such a high, and after the festival, we kind of had that festival glow about us, where everything got poured into it. And for us, it was every waking moment was for those last 6 weeks was baby stuff or festival prep. We did all the graphics, we did all of the Skype rehearsals with the artists so that the live portions were going to be as best as they could. We did, I mean, all the schedule planning and organizing of the different workshops and certain orders to make it. I mean, it was everything. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of work, but we felt so grateful for having that opportunity to do it. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I know that the people that were watching it and participating in it loved it. I mean, I didn't watch all 9 hours of it, I admit, but boy, you had some great musicians there, and they were so generous.
yeah,
They weren't like hogging the spotlight or anything like that. They just were very kind and shared some beautiful, beautiful music. It was wonderful. And I don't know of anybody else that's doing well, I guess there are some people doing some virtual festivals, but this was very unique. It seemed like you congregated some of the most special people and they cared to give. They were giving of themselves. They weren't just playing to plug a CD or something. They were
yeah.
giving of themselves, which was wonderful. Thank you for doing it. It was really
Oh, it was
good.
our pleasure. I think that the difference was it wasn't just random people that we were asking to do this. We've all had these are people we worked with over the last 15 years, and we had stories together, and I think that's
Yeah.
what made it really really special for us is that every single person who was involved we have worked with before and
Yeah.
considered dear friends.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, we've got some folks here that are also friends that want to say hello. So here is Bill from Fremont.
Oh, awesome.
Um, and maybe you know Stefan or Steven Dorado.
This
He,
is such a cool setup. This
yeah,
is we're using
StreamYard.
StreamYard. This is neat. This is
StreamYard. Yeah, it's
really
pretty cool.
cool.
It's simultaneously broadcast to YouTube and to Facebook. So it's
Very
cool.
cool.
And you can see all the comments. And here's Dan M. He's on the
Yeah,
Big
Dan with
Island.
his I recognize that that looks like an ukulele
Oh,
by
let me go
Kanalea,
back.
actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
And here,
Oh, Aileen, good to see
do
you.
you know Aileen?
Yeah, she's fantastic. She is one of our students, and she's doing a lot of lessons from a lot of different instructors, which I love because
That's
I
great.
always tell people you're never gonna learn everything, but with just one teacher. We always say, you know what? That's one of the benefits of Sarah and I together too. It's like you're gonna learn a little differently from both of us, even though we have a lot of teachers. We all have that end goal, but how we kind of get there is a little bit different, and
Sure.
will um, connect with people a little bit differently. So I love that. She's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think that's really an important point to make too, because I'm classically trained, and boy, you really hone in on the teacher, and that's who you're with, and they don't
Yeah.
like you going to anybody else necessarily. They don't mind you listening to somebody else. You can listen to somebody else, but taking instruction from someone else is really not what they want you to do, and yet you can get, I think a good variety of I
Yes.
think by getting exposure to master musicians, you get a variety of input, and that's how your own style starts to develop. So good for Aileen. That's good for her. So
Yes.
there's just a couple other folks. They probably want to say hello. So I wanted to put their little banner up here, Sharon, and then also
Oh, and actually, if
Angie.
you go back to Sharon, we
Sure.
Manoa Valley, that's where actually I grew up, and that's where my family still
Ah,
lives. So
oh,
awesome, awesome,
isn't
awesome,
that
awesome.
sweet? That's nice. We've got people from all over the place here. We even have somebody from Nova Scotia. I hope it's
Oh,
getting warm there. Um, and Montana. I hope it's getting warm there too.
this is the coolest.
Is this, do you know Rhonda maybe? Because she knows you have a baby named Cameron. I don't know.
Looks, I'm
I know you have so many
names.
students.
I am the worst. Faces, when we see people at events, we like remember the whole history and everything, but it's
Yeah,
always names that are like,
right. It's hard. It's very hard. I know it is. I know it is. So let's see. Oh, this is cute from Susie. Craig, just a rim. Oh no. Get mama something. Get mama something.
Yes, I'll get her a 5 hour shoulder massage from yours truly.
Yeah. Yeah,
she'll
it's going to have to
she'll
be from
appreciate.
you. It's going to have to be from you because it can't be
Oh
from
my
anybody else.
gosh.
And so this is someone who met you at the No Shore Ook.
Oh, awesome, awesome,
Yeah, so
awesome.
there's lots of people
Let's
here.
see. Lisa Webb asks, is Artist Works a platform that will help you guys stay at home for a while Cameron is little? So that actually ties in a lot with the mini fest that we put on, because the past year and a half, I knew we couldn't sustain 9 months out of the year traveling. To me,
Hmm.
it just physically and mentally, it was so hard. And especially thinking of the kid. Uh, so there was a lot of discussion about being able to do remote workshops at festivals from home. And so this was already something kind of in the wheelhouse before the virus kind of hit. And so this is why I felt we were very lucky to have put a lot of thought into this before we did the festival, because we saw on Facebook like everyone was doing all of these things. Audio was like choppy, video was in
Yeah.
and out, and we wanted to create a space for professionals and really highlight them the best way we could. So
Hmm.
besides like the Skype testing, I actually sat down with a lot of different artists and we talked about lighting, we talked about audio and video gear to at least get to a certain level. So with that said, Artist Works is one of the reasons we are able to be okay during this crazy time period right now, and we're so fortunate to be a part of it, honestly. And um, we are very, again, we've been so fortunate to have that, so we don't have to travel quite as much, so we can be a little bit more choosy now about which events we're a
Yeah.
part of.
Well,
um,
that's great.
yeah,
And we're certainly very pleased to have you both with us. I know you and I, Craig, have been talking for holy cow, it's been
yeah.
a lot of years. And one of the reasons it's taken us so long to kind of come around together is that you're just really busy. You play a lot and you teach a lot. And boy, I'll tell you, if there's any two factors in someone's career that we look for, it's that they play a lot and that they teach a lot, because you got to be, just
Mm,
because you're a good player doesn't mean you're a good teacher.
yeah,
And
that's
so we
true.
look for that rare combination of, good player, good teacher, and you're one of those, rare combinations. So we're quite happy to have you there
Well, speaking of
with us.
Mother's Day coming up, that I owe a lot of my teaching to my mother, who was an elementary school teacher in Hawaii growing up. During the summers, she would teach extra art classes, and I got I got a chance to watch her teach, and it was so incredible. And I think I knew at a very young age that you cannot teach the same way to everyone and expect them all to react the same way. You have to be able to come at it from different angles, or else you're going to lose people. And there's so many amazing moments that I took away from watching her work,
Hmm.
that filtered into my own style of teaching. But I owe a lot of that to her for sure.
Oh, and it's nice that you pay tribute to her so close to Mother's Day. That's very kind of you. You're a good son. You're a good son. And
Uh,
it's interesting that you say what you do about teaching people differently. Because if you ever have a second child, the,
it's
you,
true.
you kind of have to parent them differently too.
Yeah.
One size does not fit all, as I found out. No, my kids are probably listening. But it's true. They have very different personalities. Of course, everybody has a different personality. People learn different. They behave different. They think
Yeah.
differently. They process differently. And what you say to them and how you say it has a big impact on their ability to learn and absorb what you're saying and also do what you want them to do, whether it's a child or whether it's a
Mhm.
student of yours. And most of your students are adults, and
Mhm.
you speak to an adult and teach an adult differently than you would a child. And we've been very careful about that at Artist Works, because even though kids can learn from these lessons, we really do speak to adults as adults because they're adult learners. So that's
Yeah.
and so I see we're not alone. We are not alone. Mother
Yes.
has returned.
I have the little one did not want to stay down, which is totally fine.
Oh,
But because he really wants to be held, and that's all right.
that's the way it goes.
It
That's
is.
the way it
But
goes. He's got his little prison uniform on there, or what?
I know it does look like it. It has a minion on the front.
Oh, I
I'll try
love
to
the little
turn.
minions.
Let me see if I can turn him around without him flipping out.
Cameron.
Hi,
Cameron. Oh,
Cameron.
there he is.
Say
Hi,
hi,
Cameron.
everybody. Oh, my little band-aid's coming off. He had his
Oh.
immunizations today, so he's a little fussy,
No,
but let's
he's
see.
absolutely perfect in every conceivable way.
Go, Papa. Yes. So, but he's doing great. But I was actually going to mention, when we do have kids on Artist Works, a lot of times we actually take some extra time with them. Like, I usually will create sort of lesson plans for them and tell them, these are the specific lessons I want you to submit in 2 weeks, et cetera, and kind of make it more structured for them. Because a lot of times that's what, what they need in order to be able to succeed,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. So when we do get kids, I do try to do that, because I noticed that we also have some homeschool
Mhm.
students as well.
Yes, yes, we do. We are what they call a vendor for quite a
Mhm.
few fairly large independent schools or home schools, and there's a
Mhm.
lot more kids doing that now. So
Yeah.
I'm really happy that they like the ukulele. They do. They like it a lot because the instrument is small and it doesn't.
Yeah.
You don't have to develop those calluses quite so much on your fingers like you would a
Yeah.
guitar
And it's so
and
much better than recorder.
yes. I can vouch for that. I can
Yes.
vouch for that. You are so right. Well, now
Yes.
that we know the baby's awake, would one of you
Yeah.
like to play something, or would both of you like to play something? Would
I can
Cameron,
certainly.
Cameron, do you want to play the
Cameron, do you
whistle,
want to play?
honey?
Do you want to play? We can have you play ukulele too. Mwah.
He can do it. He can conduct.
Grab the berry.
Oh, you want to grab the berry? Okay, hold on.
And then what we
Yes,
could do-
somebody
try
asked you to
doing is
play the
just-
berry before, I forget. Or maybe they said Cameron could do that.
What you need, sweetie?
So
Because
why don't you start? I'll kind of jump in when I can. I'll have him on my lap.
Do you want me to hold the baby?
yes, can you hold him, please? So, what are you wanting me to play, sweetie? Oh yeah, I could do that
I can try and jump in when I can.
when you can. He's usually, you know, what's crazy is he's actually pretty good about letting me play while I hold him. So we'll see his legs are a little sore today because a lot of times I can kind of put my legs in a four shape and lay him in it and then play, and he's so good.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. All right, so we're gonna hear a little bit of
Bit.
music
This
here.
is So this is actually a song that is one of Craig and I's favorites, and it's funny when we planned to do this tune, it was like, oh, well, I guess this one we happen to teach this song, but it's one that we've always just really loved, and this is "The Nearness of You." We'll just run through it. It's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It isn't your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. When I'm in your arms and I feel you so close to me, all my wildest dreams come true. I need no soft lights to enchant me if you only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight. Oh, and to feel in the night the nearness of you. No,
That was
Cameron.
that was just beautiful. I love your voice, and I don't get to hear you sing near
Aw,
enough. You have a very classic sound, very sweet, and
thank you.
I really enjoyed that a lot. And I don't always say that right in front of everybody, but I've heard you sing a little bit in the studio, of
Yeah,
course, but that was really lovely, very touching. And I think we're all more open to kind of these more sentimental songs, especially about
uh,
being near each other, which
yeah,
is
absolutely.
it's so difficult, isn't it?
It is, and it's interesting. That particular song, I remember every time that we'd perform it when I was pregnant. That was usually when he would start kicking
Oh, isn't
and
that
stuff.
funny?
Yeah, so it's one song, and I just his timing was perfect for the very end. He knew the song was going to end, and
Well,
he
he
didn't want
wants
it to.
he wants to be near you.
Yes,
S-
yes.
We have a question here for you, and I think this is a good one. Francine,
Okay,
who's been making some friends here with some other folks,
excellent.
Steve Forsland. They seem to know each other. But
Nice.
Francine would like to know if she can learn to play this song on ArtistWorks.
Actually, yes, this song is one that we do teach, actually. And we teach it in the key of C, which is the key that I just did it in. And so we take you through not only just the regular comping chords so that you can sing and play, but we also go through a chord melody as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
I want to just put one, unless you need to go to the baby, or we'll have an empty screen if you do. But Robin brought up a good question while you were playing before. Can you just speak a little bit to this? Because I think not stepping on each other is really important.
Ah,
You're playing the same instrument, you're in the same room, husband and wife. I mean, how do you keep from stepping on each other musically?
honestly, there's so much beauty in space. And both Craig and I are really we even before we started performing together, we've always felt very strongly about that, because it just you get so much more if you're allowed to breathe. The way that we both think about music is it's a language, and you have your vocabulary and everything. And when you speak to someone, you need to breathe, and you have pauses,
Hmm.
and those pauses can be very, very important, and sometimes those pauses can say more than the words you're actually saying. So we keep that in mind whenever we play. And if we are having a conversation, I'm not going to yell over him, with whatever my talking points are, and vice versa. And we take that into our music, into the music as well.
So it sounds like you treat it a good bit like a conversation.
Yeah,
So,
it's
so
absolutely a conversation.
yeah. And I think it's interesting what you say about leaving a pause. Because sometimes when you get into conversations with people, and I'm certainly guilty of it myself, just there's a discomfort in silence, and that just doesn't need to be the case. Sometimes it's better to have a little space.
Absolutely. And, I mean, how many times has there been a moment where the silence spoke so much louder?
Yeah,
So yeah, we always joke with students, the rests are just as important as the notes.
yeah. I think it's really true though, because musically, if there's a
Hmm.
little bit of a pause, it can
Yeah.
emphasize either what you just played to sort of
Hmm.
let that set in,
Yeah.
or create some anticipation or suspense for about
Yeah,
what's about to come.
absolutely.
So I like that you teach that a lot. I think that's a pretty advanced concept, and yet it's something that if beginners learn that when they first start their musical journey.
Yeah. Well, and that's something, and it's very, I think it really is important, especially for ukulele. It's such a social instrument, and myself included, a lot of us get started by playing with uke clubs. And uke clubs are all about playing loud and proud, and it's rowdy, it's ruckus, and all the songs have the same strum, and you go for it. And it's a great time. But eventually, you get to a point where you think, everything's sounding the same, everything's the same, level of, loudness. How can I, make my playing more musical? How can I actually enhance the story that I'm trying to tell you?
Yep.
And I feel like a lot of folks get to that point very quickly with the uke because it's so easy to pick up and just start playing. And so that's part of why we spend a lot of time talking about that.
Well, it's interesting that you said something that I was actually about to bring up, and that is in many conversations I've had with Martin Taylor, who is a very melodic, very lyrical, beautiful player. And
Yeah.
his music often feels like it's unfolding a story. And so he'll play softly and maybe pick up the rhythm a little bit when he's expecting you to sort of look around the corner and anticipate what's coming next, which is a big and beautiful but tasteful solo. And so I think there's a lot about pacing and dynamics and pauses that really can add style and phrasing to your playing.
Absolutely.
Sarah, there's a couple questions here if you don't mind.
Sure.
This one is specifically about Artist Works.
Mm.
So we'll take just a moment to thank all of you students from Artist Works that are here. We're really glad that you've joined us. I know you have access to Sarah and Craig all the time, but it's really great that you joined the community here, and we're very thankful for you and hope that the music that you're learning on Artist Works has helped you, and is therapeutic for you while you're at home waiting this time to be over. So here's a question from Lisa. What are your suggestions to structure a VE, meaning a video exchange? That's what we do for the best response.
Honestly, trying to keep it, I don't want to say keep it simple because I'm not saying you can't ask a hard question. But for example, if there's a piece of music that you're working on, I highly recommend, we'll work through it in small parts as opposed to going through the whole piece and then saying, all right, what do I need to work on? A lot of times when we have students that will submit a whole piece, I'll say, okay, now let's just focus on the A section. Let's spend some time on that before we begin on the B section. Let's spend some time, getting this specific transition down, because that's going to help you when you get to this next part. Because for us, it's much better to submit, for us at any rate, it's better for you to submit a bunch of smaller video exchanges in a row versus like a super long one that has 8,000 questions in it. Just because it's a lot easier for us to be able to answer you in the most complete manner without possibly missing something. And Craig is back. I don't know if Craig wants to hop in and answer this. What's the best way to submit VEs to us?
I caught the tail end of that, but yeah, the shorter and more frequently is always great. There's a lot of times where people feel like, oh, I have to do all of this work and then get feedback, but then we pointed out something that could have been an easy fix, or to me, it's small and frequent is the best way to utilize the amazingness that is the video exchanges.
Yes, and we love them. It's so great to get to watch students grow. And having that archive, because there's multiple times I'll in a response say, I want you to go back and look at your very first exchange with me, and I want you to see the growth that you've made.
I wish I had like a catalog of my growth as a player. That would have been so cool.
I know. If we only had this way back then.
I know, right?
But I also like your philosophy of breaking it down. And again, this comes from sort of the proper way to learn a bigger piece, and that is to break it down into sections and
Yes.
play it below performance speed until you play it exactly right, and then you can go to the next section slower than performance speed, and then speed it up, but not until after you've played it correctly. So I like your philosophy of submitting videos because that will help them learn a piece better too. Like you
Yeah,
said, they come with
absolutely.
8,000 questions,
Yeah.
and good heavens.
And the thing is, we want to answer all of them, and we want to answer all of them completely. And the
Yes.
best way to do that is to give us the time to be able to do that.
Great response. Thank you for that. Here's just another question we're going to sneak in there from William E. Artelt. And he was asking if you would please play a beginner song that is in the key of C so that he could learn the basic chords. Do you have a moment to do that?
What song would you want to play, honey?
Oh, I don't know anything.
I'm like, I mean, it's very
something basic.
like there's some
in the key of
very
C.
easy things that you can do. I mean, even just tell you what, there's a progression that I think is fairly easy. There's one chord that's going to be a little difficult, but bear with me. So the first one is a C chord, and that's just open, 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 and 3. Your C chord. The next chord is going to be an A minor chord. You'll take your middle finger, you'll put it on the G string, which is the string closest to your face. It's the 2nd fret, so it's going to be 2, open, open, open. And then all you have to do for the next chord is add your index to that E string. So it's going to be 2, open, 1, and 2. And that's an F chord. The next one would be a G7. And that's the last one, don't worry. And it's open, 2, 1, 2. And so if I was to go through and play this and do C for 1, 2, 3, 4, switch to the A minor, which was my middle 2nd fret on that G string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then add my index to the E here, 1, 2, 3, and then the G7, which is just leaving that index there and having these 2 fingers surround it, but on the 2nd fret, open 2, it's open 2, 1, 2. I can then play a bunch of tunes. So let me go through and just play. And I'm going to actually go to 2 beats for now. So I have 1, 2, 1. And so this is Earth Angel, the one I adore. My darling dear, love you evermore. Or it could be, took a walk in past your house late last night. All the shades were pulled and drawn way down tight. Or it could also be, oh, I got another one. Blue moon, you saw me standing alone. C, A minor, F, and G7. So again, that was C, A minor, then F, G7, and C. And that is something called the doo-wop progression. And that one, it's if you want to hear the numbers, a 1, 6, 4, 5 progression. But the great thing about that is that you can play a ton of doo-wop songs or even write your own doo-wop tune, because progressions are not copywritten, just lyrics and melodies are.
That's very cool. Thank you. I wrote this as a
oh yeah, there we go. I see.
a scroll. Did I do that right? I was trying to type
C,
while
A
you were
minor,
talking.
F, G7,
close,
and then
very close.
it just repeats itself again.
Is that good? C chord, A minor, F, then G7, and back to C. That is a 1, 6, 4.
That's the doo-wop progression.
Doo-wop,
1,
there
6,
you
4,
go.
5.
Do wop, don't wop, whatever.
And I'm gonna go check on Mr. Cameron.
Oh, is
I'm
go
just gonna. He's wiggling enough that I can't
Wow.
quite see him, so I'll be
Oh,
right
yeah.
back.
Make sure he doesn't fall off.
I know.
That's important. That's important.
yes.
So Craig,
Yes.
I have a couple questions for you. Let's talk a little bit about the music in your life, if we could. You are Hawaiian.
Well, born and raised in Hawaii. I grew up with being in the Hawaii culture, but not Hawaiian.
Okay, all right. Well, that's interesting. Tell me what the difference is there.
I do not have Hawaiian blood in me.
Okay, you
I
just
am
lived there.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, grew up and raised third generation or so in Hawaii, but I would never say I am Hawaiian.
I see. Okay, so what kind of music was in your house when you were young? Like what did your parents play and what did you love to hear?
My parents loved a lot of doo-wop. They loved a lot of musical theater.
Oh yeah. Okay. Like what, Broadway and
Yep, yep.
okay.
So I was actually in a bunch of productions when I was small.
Why are you
Oh,
laughing? Because I wish
Oh
we
my
because
had
they are
gosh.
pictures of you.
so. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my
it's so
gosh.
adorable. See him in the what was the one
Mm.
Music Man and
Oh, I played in the Music Man.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
But yeah,
so
that's
cute.
so yeah, that's that stuff.
Yeah,
That's cool though. That's really
mhm.
so okay, are you still drawn to that though? I mean, is that something
Yes.
that okay, so tell us a little bit about that. Like what do you listen to? Do you buy albums or CDs or downloads or of any
Well,
of that?
the fun thing is that one of the reasons I think Sarah and I connected early was we both had a history in music theater.
Hmm.
For her, it was a very different side of it.
That's true. So and I jokingly say in my previous life, I actually was a I guess I was one of the drapers at the La Jolla Playhouse and UCSD, or University of California, San Diego. And I actually worked on several Broadway productions, including Jersey Boys, Hands on a Hard Body, Memphis, and all of our productions were actually the where those shows started, and then they would box up all the costumes because I worked in the costume shop. I was a pattern maker,
Oh,
and I had a team of people, and that's actually my degree is in pattern making for
my
clothing,
gosh,
the fancy.
you can make
Yeah,
masks.
I can make anything. That's it's I my degree is technically it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Costume Technology.
Wow.
It's a cool job, I'm not gonna lie. And I actually go back and work for the theater like once a year when I can. They'll call me up because it's a fun job. I enjoy doing it. It's very creative. Music has always been my passion, though,
Mhm.
because my first instrument's violin, and I've always loved classical music. Is always, I think, my first love as far as music goes.
Hmm.
But yeah, because of the whole musical theater sort of connection, Craig and I uh, actually connected a lot on that.
So, what was the first album you ever bought, Sarah? I don't
Uh,
mean you're too young to have purchased an album, like a vinyl album,
yeah,
but
but it was "Help" by the Beatles, and it was a CD.
oh,
Coconuts
awesome.
Musics. Yeah, yeah.
That's great. How about you, Craig? What was the first album you ever bought?
I don't remember, but there's this ongoing joke that
Oh
so
yes.
growing up in Hawaii, there are a lot or were a ton of professional Hawaii groups that did covers, right? As you would in a more of like a islandy, almost sometimes reggae vibe.
Mhm.
And there were so many songs that I didn't realize until like 4 years ago
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
that
We're
that were
covers.
covers and not like the original.
Yes. So Craig will be, well, we listen, I'll be listening. Van Morrison's Moon Dance will come on, and he's like,
Oh,
"Oh wow, who's covering this?" I'm like, um,
So
yeah,
oh,
I'm still discovering like the originals
oh
of a
my
lot of these songs
gosh.
that I because
but
on the radio that's all you would hear, right? Were
Yeah.
the cover
yeah,
versions and like all the commercials were all local commercials
yeah.
using these cover versions. And
Oh, and
so
their songs are actually different enough
yeah.
sounding that like you wouldn't even
Oh my
Yeah.
think
gosh.
it, and they're really cool. Like I love the thing I love about his background with listening to those different songs is that it opened up a whole new realm of music for me to listen to, where it's like, oh wow, they really did a great job with this song. And then there's a rabbit hole of all of the original songs that they also do too.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of great tunes.
So when you turn on Pandora or Spotify
Mhm.
or whatever it is you turn on, other than your own music, what do you listen to? classical?
Gosh, I'm like everything.
Yeah.
Really, really. But like, if you go to a specific channel and say, okay, I want to listen to like Mark Knopfler or somebody, I don't know who you listen
So
to.
I don't know. It's for
well, one of the
me.
great
Yeah.
things is that Sarah has an extensive collection of vinyl. And
Yes.
so when we do have the chance to actually relax, she'll actually pick random stuff from her vinyl collection and
Mhm.
expose that to me for the very first time.
Really? What
For a lot of
resonated
it.
with you though, Craig? What resonated with you that she pulled out?
Well, like there was a lot of Stevie Wonder stuff, some of the old
Mm,
stuff that I
Yeah.
wasn't as familiar with, and like some of
Mhm.
the Elton John stuff
Oh yeah, the
was
old stuff like
so
Tumbleweed
drastically
Connection.
different than what I
Yeah.
associated with. So there was such an
Oh,
amazing
you also
catalog.
really liked the Association, Seals and Croft,
oh,
and
nice.
Loggins and
Nice.
Messina.
Yeah.
Those were other ones
He's
that
the
Craig was like,
mellow. He's kind of mellow
yeah,
then. He likes the mellow
yeah,
stuff. That's
yeah.
cool. Well, we've been listening more to albums or vinyl here
Mhm.
too. Just pulling out some of the old
Nice.
favorites, from a long, long time ago. One of the ones I'm just loving is Rita Coolidge.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Man, what a great voice she has. Holy cow. Really, really wonderful stuff. So, one question for you, again, Sarah. Ed Eli would like to know, since classical was part of your history and what you
Mhm.
learned in school, do you teach classical ukulele? It's not something I've really ever heard of.
We don't necessarily teach classical ukulele. So Craig also has a classical background as well as a cellist. And how we use our classical background is with exercises and warm up things. Craig created several of the exercises that we teach are actually, aren't they cello
Yep,
warm
there was
ups?
stuff I
Yeah.
used to do for cello. Yep.
Yeah. If you are interested in classical ukulele, there's actually a gentleman named John King who has since passed, but that was his specialty. I think there's a woman named Samantha Muir who also does classical pieces on the uke as well. But John King is really awesome, and he utilizes that high G string a lot in his arrangements.
Is it Mika?
Oh yeah, Mika Kane also
Kane.
does. Oh, was it Kane? Sorry, Mika. Um, but he also does classical as well. He lives in Hawaii. He's a young fellow.
Nice. Well, thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that too, and
yeah,
especially opening people's eyes to where they might be able to get a hold of some classical ukulele
yeah. It's
instruction.
beautiful when
Yeah.
you hear it done on the uke. It's gorgeous.
Do you ever play your violin and cello together, or are you just uke
I'm gonna
now?
go check on Cameron real quick. You
We
feel
Okay.
good?
actually I Sarah bought me a electric cello a few years back, and we actually would bring it on tour during the driving tours. We would actually bring that in. I would play it more like a bass though
Hmm.
than a cello, just to have some low end. But there was a gig in in Colorado, I want to say that I played cello, backing up Danielle ate the sandwich, and Sarah was on her violin, I think too.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun, but we haven't had as much time. Most of our travel was by air, or used to be at least.
Yeah, it used to be. Right. Now it's going to be by car,
Oh
bus.
my gosh, I know it's crazy. I mean, yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's one of those things where we loved having it with us, but we've learned to travel light. It's just so much easier.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's best to just be as light as you possibly can be.
Yeah,
If you do want to learn to play, well, you don't need to learn to play cello, but if you want to brush up on cello, remember Mike Block teaches at Artist Works too.
right. When we have time, there's so many things. We just need
Yeah.
like 12 more hours in the day, I think. And
Oh my gosh, I know. Are you busier now being at home? Or are
yes,
you
well, that's our fault, but yes.
well, you just did that
um,
big.
yeah. To be honest, I mean, it was crazy. After, I mean, there's so many little things that we do behind the scenes too. Like we did a um almost like a TED talk kind of a thing for the Australian Ukulele Leaders and Teachers Association,
Oh wow.
to discuss the changes of teaching with kind of the online component now, and how we've you know kind of transferred from that face to face teaching to more online via Artist Works or Skype, or like our
Hmm.
events that we've been hosting as well. So that was fascinating. I loved it.
Yeah, there's a big difference in it. I think one of the reasons that David started Artist Works was that the one-to-one teaching just it's very difficult
Hmm.
because it doesn't scale. You know, you have to sync up your schedule with everybody, and you can have like 22, 23 students. That's about it. And they do rotate, of course, but it really does limit your reach and your influence. And I think teaching online, like you're doing with us, allows you to be incredibly influential and extends your reach to the whole world. Not that Skype can't, but it's just that you're able to reach people in any country, and you don't have to sync up your calendar, you know,
Yes.
and
Wait,
your
but
time
for
zones.
example, I mean, like there were so every workshop I teach, I typically talk about that left hand hold in a way to I've seen people, you know, a lot of guitar teachers will teach ukulele just for a side gig, and the first thing they do is tell them to put the thumb on the back. And if you look at their thumb, they have that crazy L. And to me, it's like you don't need that to play the ukulele. So the first thing I typically do in all of my workshops is just go over that left hand position so you can do any of these chords, basic chords, with a straight wrist and that natural straight, almost like you're making a fist type of feel rather than pinching with that thumb. And I can't, like, there's been so many people that have emailed us over the past 2 years that have like saved their hands from just death gripping
Yeah.
the entire thing. And that having those kind of videos up on Artist Works where we can always send people that way rather than trying to assume that they're doing something correct with that left hand, but or give them another option. It's been so incredible
Yeah.
to have that resource to kind of point them towards.
Well, and also too, being able to point them to bar chords and other just uh, bar chords and other just I don't want to say basic, but general lessons that it's just nice to be able to say it's all right here. You
Yeah,
can, you can rewatch it
Yeah.
and hear me say it 8,000 times, and it's
yeah.
really, really nice.
Well, I think the other thing too is that you don't have to keep repeating everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's all
that's nice.
there. Your teaching legacy is there. So,
Yeah,
you know, that is one of the big, you know, pluses for just recording everything, you know, don't leave out any gaps, and then people can
yeah.
listen and watch all of those videos, but then of course get feedback from you. But you have a new Artist Work students here with some questions or with a
Oh, cool.
question, and maybe Craig, you could answer that as a new Artist Work student. What are the top few things I can do to get the most benefit or value out of being
Okay.
here?
So, like anything, one of the things that I like about the Artist Works thing is that you can learn a ton on YouTube right now.
Yeah,
You can go on, like, there's these free techniques that this guy's teaching, some songs that this other woman is teaching. But it gets very fragmented. What I love about having this whole curriculum there is that everything layers, everything is building upon each other. One of the biggest mistakes that I think some of the Artist Work students do is they try to skip ahead. They're like, oh, I kind of know this enough. I'm gonna jump to the fancy chord melody stuff. But
Yeah.
one of the things that the one of the biggest things that a lot of seasoned players that have joined our curriculum have actually said was, I loved going back and filling the holes in my foundation.
yeah,
And that to me is the biggest thing to take away is, even if you feel like you can breeze through it, start from the beginning. Start looking at the terminology, some of the exercises, and why we're doing some of these stretches, because they all come into play later. All the stuff that you see, like Jake play, it's all. There's no like super advanced technique. It's just based upon foundational techniques, but
Yes.
applied a little differently, or played a little faster, or in a different combination. That's the stuff that I really hope people take the time to really get down before moving forward. Because yes, you want to be inspired. Yes, you want to do some of the fancy stuff, but until you can walk, you don't want to be sprinting ahead without that
right.
under you. So that to me is the biggest thing, is start from the beginning. Try to start seeing how these techniques are being applied to the more advanced stuff, but make sure you're comfortable before moving on. And again, that's where the VEs come into play, because if you get stuck or you just, I don't quite understand that, I love, or both of us love,
Hmm.
just pushing you to that next area. And um, I really, the video exchange to me was what sold us on the Artist Works program when we were talking back before, because I wasn't, for me, I'm always looking at how to improve things, so I didn't like the idea of something only being that one way, but being
Right.
able to go in and redo videos or create enhanced versions of some of the lessons or
Mhm.
expand on them, and the video exchanges in between. That's what really sold me on
Plus,
Artist Works.
everybody can see all of the video exchanges. I think
Yeah.
that's really vital. You guys have done thousands of video exchanges with your students
Yes.
from around the world, and you do a great job at teaching, and you're so very understanding. But what I find remarkable about your teaching methodology is that you will really hone in on just one very simple thing someone is doing that is
Mhm.
going to cause a struggle for them
Yeah.
later. And I love
Yeah.
that you work on those building blocks. That's really a great strategy for teaching, I think.
Well, and
Thanks.
Kathy asked if we want people to submit a video for each lesson. Not necessarily. Again, there's a lot of, like, exercise stuff. There's a lot of kind of building block things where if you feel super comfortable and you know it looks good and feels good, just keep pushing
Yeah.
forward. You want to maintain a pace.
Mhm.
For me, the VEs really do stand out when you have even the smallest question. The
Right.
questions are the big things, because a lot of times you guys are sounding absolutely fantastic. But if it's the questions on transition or,
Hmm.
how might I use this in a real song, that's the kind of stuff we love helping you with. Or if there's something legitimately difficult
Well,
to
and
do.
even in let's say for the warm up exercises, you could, if there's one that you're just not sure if you're doing it right, submit a video. Show us what you're doing. That way we can say, oh you're golden, or oh tweak, do this one small thing here.
Yeah.
Um, but like for example, there's one lesson that's like to strap or not to strap, where I talk about using a strap versus not. You don't really need to do a video exchange on that, unless of course you have a question about a strap, which we have had students ask. So um, so the short answer is no, you don't have to do a VE for every lesson, but but please submit whenever you have questions or you just want to show us your progress.
Yeah, I think so many students get stuck. And
Mhm.
they hit a plateau, whether it's ukulele or any
Yeah.
instrument. They just hit a plateau. They don't know how they got there. Maybe they had a bad habit they never broke. And boy, when you get stuck like that and you just don't know
Mhm.
if what you're doing is right or wrong, that's really when you need to send in a video. And it doesn't need to be polished, it doesn't need to be perfect. In
No.
fact, it should be a practice video. You should just be sort of showing, yourself in the way that you're making the mistake so that the teacher can help you.
Yes, because nothing is more frustrating than practicing something for hours and then having us come to you and say, I'm sorry, you've been practicing that wrong. You
Yeah,
need to go back
right.
and repractice it.
That's
And
right.
there is one thing I want to bring up, that we actually made a welcome video for the start of this year, where I talked about, at this point, a lot of students have been with us for a bit and exposed to other people at the festivals, online events.
Mhm.
My main thing for any student, whether it's our students or people who aren't even in artist works at all, but it's to start to prioritize
Mm.
what kind of musician you want to be.
Yeah.
There's amazing background players that are amazing at the chord work, and they want to just kind of be in the background and helping enhance their singer's sound. Or there's a singer songwriter who just wants just enough to get by, to really help accent what you're doing vocally. Or there's the soloist who wants to be the one that taking all the solos and doing all the fills. But you really want to start thinking of what kind of player you want to be, so that everything you push forward at that point leads up to there.
Yeah.
Because again, it's so easy to be distracted by so many different techniques and theory stuff. And we don't have all the time in the world. We talked about this earlier too. So part of the best way to get you know anywhere in life at this point is to prioritize what's important. And then once you have that goal,
Mhm.
then we can help you build a game plan of how to get there. That's, to me, one of the best things
Yeah.
about being able to interact with students in this way, because we need uh, a lot of us need that guidance of just how to get to that place. But unless you know where that place is, that's where
Right.
things can get, like you said, hitting a wall. Because a lot of times we don't hit a wall necessarily for the lack of technique or lack of trying. It's just we don't know where to go.
Right.
Right.
You don't have a map. And so
Right.
you're kind of looking at the paths going, I don't know, that one looks nice, but I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, but I think your analogy to a map there is very important because someone may know they want to get to this particular spot, but they have no idea what path to take, and you guys
Right.
provide a guided path for them to reach a higher level of playing or just to reach their goal.
Yeah.
So we have a question here that I feel compelled to put up and ask, and then we're going to close out here with some beautiful music from either one of
Yeah.
you or two of you. But
We'll try to do it together.
oh, that'd be great. I'm going to put this up even though it's kind of big. I need you to see this because I don't want Scott to be discouraged. He's
Mm.
63 and he's never played an instrument before. And no, you are not starting too late, Scott,
No.
ever. He picked up a nice tiny tenor.
Mm.
So maybe you can see the rest of this.
Yeah, the
Craig,
problem, yeah.
I've purchased a few other instruments. I don't know how to play. Should I just pick one and concentrate on that instrument? I say, Scott, concentrate on ukulele because you will not find two more more kind and caring and helpful teachers than these two right
Aw.
here. So what? But do you guys have any thoughts on that
Well,
for Scott?
ukulele is the most social instrument out there.
Yeah.
As much as we love guitar, the joke is always, yeah, if you have 10 guitarists in a room, it's a fight that ends up happening. If you have
Yes.
10 ukulele
It's a
players in a
party.
room, it's a party.
I
But
love that.
honestly, though, with the uke, it's such the thing that I love about it is it's not intimidating. It's very easy to just get started, no matter what musical background you have.
Mhm.
We have many students actually who have zero background in music. They never had the chance to get to play, and they've now decided they've always wanted to play music and they're going to get their chance. And the uke is perfect for that because you get sort of instant gratification early on. And the hard part comes when you want to start mastering the instrument because it is a difficult instrument to master, just like all of them. But you can at least get started and play songs that you hear on the radio pretty easily.
The
And
music you love. Yep.
yeah,
Learn to play the
it's
music you love. And you can have so much fun in the meantime. You don't have to
Yeah.
master it. You get to play this wonderful,
Yeah.
happy. I mean, who could be sad when you're hearing ukulele music?
this
Right?
is true.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Well, what would you guys like to play for us, or what would Cameron like to hear?
Do you want to try to do the TNC Guava Jam?
You can try.
Okay, Cam.
I will tell you, Guava Jam
Actually-
was requested.
Oh, how funny! Let me see if he'll hang out with his toys real quick.
Okay.
Because I think the Tylenol has kicked in, so I think he's he's a lot happier. So
Well,
let me see if
thank you for sharing the screen with Cameron. We were happy to meet him and see him. He's a doll.
Yes, we joke he is our executive producer. Yes, I'll be right back. Hold on.
That was my
Okay.
joke, by the way.
Yeah, okay.
I'm taking credit for that one.
You should probably take credit for that one. Yeah, I think maybe you should. We won't call him a mascot. We'll have him be the producer. Oh goodness me.
I wanted to do like for the mini festival, where we're gonna do a joke intro video where we introduce the crew that's putting on this grand event, and I was gonna be like the sound manager, sound tech, video tech, co-director, and all this kind of stuff, and he was gonna turn in his little chair, and the title was gonna be official executive producer.
That's so cute. That's cute.
All right,
love
let's
it.
see. Let's see if we can. Wait. Oh, yes, I am on the correct instrument. Sorry, we have two different tunings, so I have to.
Now, for
think.
those of you who are starting, and Scott, I know you said you have a tiny tenor.
So does Ed Eli.
Those are great instruments, and
They are.
the the more you get a chance to feel the necks on different ukes. As, for some reason, a lot of people think starting out with the tiny one, the soprano, is easier.
It's
It's
harder.
way harder. So I'm glad you have a tenor to kind of work with when you're starting, because it's actually going to be a little bit easier.
Mhm.
Yeah, close enough.
Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
So this is Guava
okay.
Jam. Craig
It's actually
Chee?
it's a medley. So the
Oh,
first one, what's
excellent.
the first song, babe? TNC?
TNC, and if we haven't written this one out yet, we will. I
Yeah,
think.
this is one we do want to record for the students eventually.
Yay!
Fun stuff.
Oh my gosh.
That was beautiful. Thank you guys so much for sharing your time and your talent and your music and your baby. This was a wonderful hour to spend with you, and you're so friendly and caring about the people that you're with. I really appreciate that, and it comes across in our conversations and our interactions every time. And thank you for being a part of Artist Works. You make us even better, and I'm happy to have you on the roster. And I know that all of your customers are happy. Boy, we never hear from unhappy customers. So thank you for helping us. Well, we hear from unhappy customers, but they're not in your course. So
Well, again, how can you be sad when you play the ukulele?
I know. I think it's
We're unhappy.
impossible. I think it's
Yeah.
impossible. But you make us even more happy with your wonderful music and the terrific relationship the two of you have. And I'm looking forward to many, many more years together. And thank you for tonight. And best of luck in all that's coming ahead. And please stay home and stay healthy. And I say that not just to you, but to everybody listening. We're not out of this yet, and we do need to just hunker down a little bit longer so that we can get out of this and come and see Craig and Sarah either on a cruise or in one of the festivals that they tend to play in all the time. So
And Patricia, I wanted to give you a big thank you too, because in the years before we actually were part of Artist Works, I always appreciated how well you spoke of as the ukulele as an instrument, as its own instrument. There's
sure.
during that time there were a lot of people still who weren't really considering the ukulele as a legitimate instrument, and I think that was a big takeaway when we first connected, was that you really want to help legitimize, what people thought of when they thought of the ukulele. So thank
Yes.
you so much for being so straightforward with that, and thank you for keeping on us through the years
I
until
know.
we had time to
Yes.
to actually be a part of it. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, and Sarah was just a massive bonus for us because when you and I first started talking, there was
Yeah.
no Sarah. So
This is
That's
true.
true.
yeah,
That's
I'm
true.
just real pleased that you're together and that you're that rare combination of people that play well together and teach well together also. So thank you again, and to
Thank
all of
you.
our students and our fans and our friends out there. Thank you
Yes.
for joining us, and we hope to welcome you at Artist Works sometime soon. You'll see on the crawl there that there's a little discount code to get you 25%
Yeah.
off, and please join
Wow.
us. I mean, it's a great thing to do for the next couple of months, right? Learn to play like
It's
Craig
true.
and Sarah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you guys. Great to see you, and
Awesome. Thank
have
Wonderful
you,
to
a
see you.
Patricia.
take care.
Aloha.
Bye.
Thanks everyone. Aloha.